What is good, everybody? I went to my locals box tournament on Friday, playing pure Ghoti, and I ended up going 3-1-1. So I got second, and I got this cool trophy. So now this trophy will forever be dedicated to the fish. So 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. My 1 loss was in the finals, of course. But honestly, the deck really surprised me. I'm going to show you this build that I ran at that tournament, which is slightly different than the deck that I uploaded in my Ghoti video a few days ago. So this will be a little bit different. So we have 3 paces, 3 shift, and 2 zep. So 3 paces is pretty standard. Most people only like to play 2 zep and maybe, or 2 shift and maybe 1 zep. But I'm running Pot of Desires in this build, and I was noticing that in a lot of my testing, or for example, if you were playing 1 zep and you banished your 1 zep off of Desires, it like kind of just kills your follow-up play on your opponent's turn, right? Because you need to be able to banish a zep for the Orion. And the same goes for shift. Because I play Desires, I just want to max out on this, because this and paces, you really just want to see these as much as possible. And if you banish like all of your shifts, or maybe you have a shift that's like stuck in the grave, and you banished the other shift off of Desires, then you're just kind of screwed. So I play 3 just so that I can like guarantee that I always have a tuner live. And that really did pay off, because there were so many times I activated Desires and I would banish like 2 shift and 1 zep. Like so many times that happened. And I think Desires is just such a crazy card in this deck that I had to change my ratios to compensate for it. And then for the other Ghoti, 2 Ixeep. This card is fine to draw, but you're mainly just using it as an extender off of the field spell. Because if you don't know, if you banish a Ghoti and then search the Ixeep, it remembers that you banished the card and it instantly summons. The same way that Gazelle works off of Signet Mining. So you could play this as a one-of if you're not playing Desires, but again, I'm playing Desires, so I just want at least 2 copies of all of the important cards. The only one that I don't play 2 of is the Snopius, and honestly, I might bump this up to 2, because this card unironically hard carries this deck, and I'm not kidding when I say that. So if you go through like the main combo that I show you in my combo video from a few days ago, Snopius can banish like both paces and shift to summon itself during your opponent's turn, and then on the follow-up during your turn, you get the level 6 and both level 2s, which can go into an 8 and then a 10. So this card, and it also is kind of removal, because I played against 3 tier players, and if you drop a Snopius and then use its effect on their Kit Kalos, it'll be banished when it leaves the field, and they won't get the Mill 5 trigger off of the Kit Kalos. So this card is insane for recycling. You pretty much always search this off of the Arianpos's Graveyard effect. You just banish it to add a level 6 or lower, and this guy's level 6, so I pretty much always added this unless I already drew it. So this card is absolutely insane for giving you follow-up on your second turn, and it can also be kind of removal if you need it to be. I played 2 Enoch. I honestly might just cut the Enochs as well as the Ghoti Fury, because the Fury was good. The Fury did come up a couple times where it was actually very nice. The Enoch, on the other hand, this card is... it's way too difficult to summon. You have to either go Paces into it, which is like a really not consistent 2-card combo, or you have to use Abyss Keeper to go into it. But if you make the Abyss Keeper, you have to sacrifice like 2 other monsters that you could use for either like a Bahamut Toad or something like that. So I don't know. I might just cut the Enochs entirely and like add another Snopius or something. Because I only used this like once or twice and it only felt okay, which is a bit unfortunate. So I would definitely play Snopius as the level 6 instead. And then for the generic fish, we have Lifeless Leaf Fish, 3, best card in the deck. Abyss Shark, also very strong, and 2 Angler. Lifeless Leaf Fish is like full combo. If you draw this, you're probably feeling pretty good, as long as it doesn't get impermed. Abyss Shark, absolutely the best extender, because it can search Angler, Leaf Fish, as well as the Ixheap. It can search all 3 of these. So it's a free body plus searching any of your starters or your extenders. So it does pretty much everything. If you draw Abyss Shark alongside like Paces, you can summon the Paces, summon Shark, search Fish, and then banish Paces for the... or banish Paces, summon the Leaf Fish. So that you didn't like just waste your normal summon, you can still get the Leaf Fish out. And that's again like basically full combo. So Abyss Shark is kind of like the pivot point between making mediocre hands into excellent hands and making excellent hands into insane hands. You pretty much, every time you draw this in your opener, you're feeling really good. Because it just does so much. It can be so many different things. And then Handtrap lineup. This is this was the biggest change from my deck that I posted a few days ago in the combo video. Is that I really just wanted to max on the Handtraps this time, and this ended up really paying off. Because my matchups were a little strange. Round 1, I played against Adventure Scareclaw Tier, and I drew the Ash and the Nib. So I was able to like Ash the Fateful Adventure so that they couldn't get the Griffin. And since they weren't able to put up the Griffin negate, I was able to drop the Nib and then like full combo with Leaf Fish and stuff. Imperm, probably the best Handtrap that isn't Dimension Shifter. And then of course Dimension Shifter obviously is just one of the most insane cards in the game. But even then, I only dropped this card like 3 times out of 5 rounds, and only once was it ever actually good. Because I dropped it once against the Adventure tier player, and he just did like the full Adventure combo, and I like, because Adventure combo doesn't care about D-Shifter, so he just did the whole thing and like bounced all my stuff. So that was pretty bad. I also dropped it blind against Trains. My round 3 was Trains, and this card just didn't do anything against it. Ash was pretty consistently good all day against all the matchups. And then Nib, of course, is just an absolute blowout against any deck that doesn't set up a negate. So basically all my matchups that weren't Sprite and Adventure tier, Nib was super clutch. Because this deck has a hard time playing through boards and through negates. So if you're able to just like nib your opponent, it basically gives you free reign to set up. Because this deck doesn't do much on the play, it does all of its main stuff on your opponent's turn. So you really need to be able to like break boards and kind of just like reset the game from scratch in order to make your plays. So all of these cards were pretty consistently good throughout the day, except Dimension Shifter. But that's only because I had like a couple of weird matchups, and you know, if I played against... My shop has a lot of tier players, and I'm sure if I played against like nothing but tier, it would have been even better than it was. Next is 3 depths and then 1 terraforming. Depths is incredible. There was one point where I got deck dev'd. I got deck devastation virused. So all of my fish got sent to the grave, and one of them was a Schiff. So I was able to like banish the Schiff to add Snopius, and then use all of the other fish in my grave to summon the Snopius, and then that set up like the level 8 synchro. So that was really funny. Plus, this card gives you insane grind in the grind matches. Because like tier and even Sprite, like if Sprite doesn't go for the Gamma Burst, they're not going to kill you turn 1. So Deepest Depths really helps you grind. It also searches some of your starters and your extenders as well. So this card can either be follow up, or basically just a level 4 extender and Ixeep, and it can search your paces, and if you get like a really bad hand. And then terraforming is just to search this, so basically just playing 4 copies of this. Because you pretty much always want to see this. This isn't a deck that heavily relies on the field spell, but if you draw it, like you're chilling. And then 2 desires, because I'm playing 2 to 3 copies of pretty much everything, and I'm playing a pretty stacked hand trap lineup. So it gives me that extra consistency if I have to use it before my combo. But if I have to use it after my combo, I can use it to draw into like hand traps, or in the sideboard I can use it to draw into some of my powerful blowout cards like Dimensional Barrier. You just have to be careful not to draw like a bunch of dead cards, you know, so you just have to use your skill to draw the cards you need. And then for the traps was 2 Fury. This card was decent. Every time I drew it, I did end up actually using it to like banish some stuff, so it did feel pretty good. But the problem is, you're only really going to use this effect like once or twice per duel. And I realized at that point, like, even though this is searchable, I would have much rather have had like a main deck Solemn Strike or like an Ice Dragon's Prison or something. Like just a way more high impact trap card to like rip off of Desires or to open in the opener. So this card was alright. I'm kind of on the fence about this card and Enoch, so while they were useful in the tournament and I did pretty well using them, I'm not sure if these are the move, you know. Like I feel like this could have been something way more high impact of a trap card, and it would have felt a little bit better. For the extra, let's see, we have, for the links, we have Abyss Keeper and Coral. Abyss Keeper, basically, they're both link 2s that require waters. Abyss Keeper summons a fish from hand, and Coral summons a fish from grave. So, they kind of fill the same purpose where, like, if you need to summon an extender from either the hand or the grave, these are your 2 options to get there. Plus Coral, if it survives for a turn, you can use its effect again on the follow-up turn, which makes it nice. Although most of the time you're just going to be banishing it away with the Deep Beyond anyway. I played Bahamut Toad. I made these a couple times, and pretty much every time I dropped the Toad, and then had like the full synchro combo as well, it was just like GG. Because you can stop their like high impact cards with the Toad, and then once they start committing a lot to the board is when you drop the Deep Beyond, and that card just wins you the game. For the level 6 synchros, I played 2 Orion. I never needed more than 2 of this, because if you ever get to the point where you're trying to make a third, you're probably just in a losing position, because the goal of the deck is to drop a Deep Beyond and then just win the next turn. So if you can't just drop a Deep Beyond after the first Orion, then you're probably just in a losing position anyway. But 2 gives you that extra little bit of comfort if you need, like if your turn 1 play gets interrupted and you can survive the turn, like, because most decks can't just OTK you right now. The second one does come in handy. For the level 7, I played this. I didn't make this card a single time. It's White Aura, Mono Ceros. I didn't make this a single time, but I did use it just to, like on the follow-up turn, to help you push for damage. Like if you draw Abyss for turn, or if you add back Abyss from your graveyard off of Toad, you can use Abyss plus any level 2 to make this, and this guy can summon any fish from your grave to like help go into 8s and 10s and stuff like that. So this card helps you extend to push out damage, but that's about it, and I never made it a single time. 2 Ascan, this is the single target removal for the deck, and I made this guy once or twice per game, every game. So you definitely want to play at least 2, I think, because the first one is already super good, because you can just recycle this over and over again every turn because of its effect, and then you can make a second one on the follow-up turn, because you only get its effect when you synchro summon it. So it does come up that you often need 2 of these, and this card is absolutely busted. 2 Whale. You should really only play 1 Whale. I never needed more than 1, and even then, I only summoned this card a couple of times throughout the day. It was good when I summoned it, because people just like throw stuff in attack position, and they don't really think about, like, they don't realize that this card even exists. So they summon all their stuff in attack position, and then you summon this guy, and it's like you wipe 3 monsters off of a level 8. And it's just crazy. Plus this guy can attack twice. It can attack 2 monsters, and it does piercing, so it's a super good card to make like turn 2 or turn 3 to just like OTK alongside your Deep Beyond. So yeah, play 1 of this. I don't know why I played 2. Dragite, this card is really nice. It's really good in the Supe version of the deck, because you can make this turn 1. But even against like decks that play a little bit of back row, it's also super good to make turn 2 or turn 3. Because there were some times where I would play against like a tier player, and I would interrupt their combo, right? But then they would like set Sulliek or set Meta Noise with like just a random tier on board, and they don't think to like use it early. Like they don't want to use the Sulliek early if there's nothing to negate. So like the first thing you do on your turn is make this guy, and then they're like, oh, okay, well now my Sulliek is just useless. And then you have like the Deep Beyond, and you can keep comboing off and bring back the Ascan and stuff, and just push for a lot of damage. It helps you OTK on the crackback through like trap cards and stuff. So this card's really sick. You should probably play it. 1 Deep Beyond. I never needed more than 1, because if this card resolves, you just instantly win the game. So you resolve this one, and then you're just good to go. Like every time I resolved this, my opponents were just like, oh, my entire board is banished, I have 0 cards in hand, let's just scoop it up. Super strong. And then the other level 10s, Baron and Qingying. I made Baron a lot on like my second turn. Because if you just have a stray level 8 on board, and then like a level 2 summons itself back from banished, Baron is such a good thing to make like right off the rip on your follow-up turn. Because if your opponent has any stray cards left on the field, you can just like pop it with the Baron, and if it's like a chainable card, you can just negate that as well. So Baron is like the ultimate OTK protection. So when you're going for game, attacking with like a Deep Beyond with 6,000 attack, Baron will give you that extra protection against any kind of stupid bullshit. Qingying, I think I only made once, but I still liked having it in the extra because it just outs like the really annoying stuff. Like there was one guy playing like some Red Eyes fusion deck to go into Dragoon, and I didn't play against him, but I was like, man, if I play against that guy, I might be kind of screwed. But then I realized I had Qingying, so I could just like non-target banish it, and it would be perfectly fine. So I was pretty happy with the extra deck. I would just cut the one whale and the Monoceros. You can play instant fusion targets or ready fusion targets here instead if you want to. Or you can just go for more toolboxy stuff like some rank 4s. Because I only played Bahamut Toad, but you can also play things like Kragan if you really want to. And then for my side was a little weird, but I'll try to explain it. So the only monster in the side is 3 alpha. So this deck has to play very specific board breakers. Because if you're going second and you drop like a Dark Ruler or a Droplet, like you can't like break the board with your main engine on the same turn that you drop a Dark Ruler. Like that's just not possible. Because of the way the deck works, it plays on the opponent's turn. So I wanted the alpha because it is an immediate threat to the board. Like it can remove like 2 cards on its own while also being a 3k beater, and a level 8. So you can drop this, like bounce 1 monster, or like bait out some negates, and then like if it bounces, you can summon it again if they have another monster. Plus you can use alpha plus any level 2 normal summon to make like a turn 1 Baron or a turn 1 Qingying going second. So like you can use alpha, summon it, bounce something, summon it again, normal a level 2, make Baron pop another card, plus it's a negate. So alpha just really helps you break the boards that cards like Dark Ruler and Droplet just can't do in a deck that plays on the opponent's turn like this deck does. So I put this in going second like pretty much every time because it's just always good. If you're playing against Sprite, you can just summon it out, like swing over their Toad or like swing over their Elf, and then main phase 2, like they can try to bring back the Toad with no, they can't bring back the Toad because you killed the Elf. You can just like use its effect to try to bounce the Toad, and then they have to like chain the Toad. So it gets rid of Elf and Toad by itself. So against Sprite, that's super good. Plus against Tier, it's like non-destructive, non-send removal. So if you bounce like a Kaleido Heart, then they don't really get the effect or anything like that. And it can also bait out Sulliek pretty well, which is cool. And then, since you can't play Dark Ruler or Droplet in this deck very well, I played 2 Raigeki. This card, like, never came up. I wish the meta was more suited towards Raigeki. Because really, the only thing this card would be good against is Flunder. And my local shop, is kind of known for having these random Flunder players show up every now and then. So I just wanted the Raigeki for like the really weird matchups. Against Sprite and Tier, this card's not super great because they can negate it with Toad and then steal it, and now your opponent has a Raigeki that just absolutely destroys you. So you really don't want to give them that. 2 Cosmic if I was expecting like Mine and stuff, which thankfully nobody was really playing Mystic Mine, but it's there if you need it. 3 Judgment. This card caused me my my draw, because I judgmented their Rhinoheart summon, and I was like, alright, if he just has like absolutely nothing else, then we're good. And he didn't. Like, he didn't have much else to play with. He did, however, have the Tier Element Scream. So when I was trying to, like, OTK, he had, like, Havness plus Scream. And it really cut back the amount of damage I was able to push out in 1 turn. So we went in, and with the monsters I had on board, I was able to do exactly 4,000 damage. So we were both at 4,000 and 4,000 each whenever time was called. So this card like caused me my draw. If it was a Solemn Strike instead, I would have won that game. Because I basically used it the same as a Solemn Strike just to negate like the Rhinoheart. So I would probably play Strike in this position if I had to do it over again. And then the best card all day, Dimensional Barrier. Every time I drew this card, I just won. Because you're playing against Tier, you call Fusion. It doesn't hurt you at all because you're playing Synchros. Because pretty much nobody plays Synchro decks anymore. Like there's barely any Sword Soul players anymore. So you're pretty much free to just like side in the D barrier. Because you can pretty much always call Xyz or Fusion. And then you can just like play all of your monsters under the D barrier because you're never calling Synchro. You're never calling it. So this card was super clutch. I played against 3 Tier players, a Train player, and a Sprite player. So this card was coming in against every single matchup. Like just call Fusion or Xyz, and it was coming in all the time. And then 2 Gozen. I wanted like a Floodgate, because Floodgates are just super good. Plus I'm playing Desires, so there were times where I would like, if I'm going first, I would like take out the Shifter and the Nibs and like some other random stuff, and I would just put in these. I would just put in like 8 trap cards going first. So if you're playing 8 of these plus Desires, you're very likely to hit like 1 or 2 of these, and these are just like the big blowout cards that will instantly win you the game if you draw them. So these came in clutch. Gozen Match was probably the least useful because Tier can just summon a bunch of darks, but I did put it in against Sprite, but I never drew it, so that kind of sucks. So that's pretty much it. This was pretty long. I was talking a lot. I didn't realize this was 30 minutes long for a deck profile, but hopefully I explained things the best I could. I was trying to give you the reasons that I was playing everything, because I know a lot of deck profiles are just like, yeah, I play 3 of this because it's good, whereas, you know, I'm trying to be a bit more in-depth than that, you know. So hopefully all the fish enthusiasts out there will be content watching a 30-minute video and won't blast my ass in the comments. So that is my 2nd place at a box tournament Ghoti profile. So like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, boys.